Tampermonkey is a great tool for manipulating web pages. The broken download links on the Emuparadise website are a great example of how we can use code to fix parts of a page. So let's see how it's done. Hi and welcome to Bytes and Bits. Fixing the Emuparadise download links is an interesting coding challenge that can help you get to grips with using Tampermonkey to examine and manipulate web page code directly in your browser. Now there are a few alternatives, but Tampermonkey is the one that I use as it works on most browsers. Now if you're not familiar with Tampermonkey, it's a browser add-on that basically lets you run some JavaScript code from within a web page as you view it in your browser. So once the page has downloaded, Tampermonkey inserts and runs your JavaScript code as if it were actually part of the page itself. Now this gives you full access to the page document object model, or the DOM, and everything that goes along with that. The Emuparadise website is a good example of what can be done using this page code manipulation. Now if you're not familiar with what the Emuparadise website is, or at least what it was one of the best sources of information and game files for retro consoles and computers. Almost every game for every retro system was listed on the site with a download link to a ROM dump, a disk image, or some sort of tape image of that game. Now unfortunately these download links were removed, so our task is to use the remaining HTML code to rebuild them and reinsert these download links onto the pages. Now I do have to be very clear here that downloading any unlicensed software, even if it is no longer in production, is actually illegal. Although I'll be using the download links as a coding example to show the power of Tampermonkey and to demonstrate how you can examine and manipulate web pages, I'm not condoning or encouraging you to use this code to download the software unless you own it. The whole reason for the download links being disabled was due to legal pressure, so do bear this in mind as we go through this project. If you are unsure about the legality of downloading retro games ROMs, then please do have a look at this article, which covers most of the arguments for and against it, and I'll put a link to this in the video description. So now that we've got the legal waiver out of the way, let's get started with the coding. So first of all, you'll need to install Tampermonkey. Tampermonkey is available for most of the major browsers such as Chrome, Firefox, Safari and Edge. Now I'm going to show you the installation on Google Chrome, but it's exactly the same for all of the browsers. So you need to go to the Tampermonkey website and then click the correct link to get to the extension installation page. So once there, just click the install link and follow the instructions to add the plugin to your browser. Now the code I'll be using to fix the Emuparadise download links is based on the information in a script written by a GitHub user called intval. So you can get to his original script at this GitHub address, and again I'll put that in the description down below. So I'm going to take you through writing your own cut down version, but if you want to play with the full link fix code, you can easily install it by just clicking on the raw button in the top right corner of the listing window. Now Tampermonkey will recognise this as one of its scripts and will instantly install that for you. Now this code not only fixes the main download links that we'll be looking at, but also the magazine links and some other ones. Now if you now visit any of the Emuparadise game pages, you'll see a Tampermonkey added link above the original download link. Clicking this, or sometimes you have to right click on it and then select the Save Link As option, and that will trigger the missing download code inside the Emuparadise website, which then gives you access to these game files. So let's have a go at writing the code ourselves. To get to the Tampermonkey dashboard, you need to look on your browser toolbar for the Tampermonkey icon. Now if you can't see it, it should be in your extensions list. Now clicking this should bring up a menu from which you can then select the Tampermonkey dashboard. This should take you to a Tampermonkey page showing you all of your installed scripts. If you downloaded the full workaround from the GitHub repository, then just click on the bin icon at the far right of that to delete it for now, and we don't want it getting in the way of what we're just about to do. So we're all ready now to add and build up our own script. So if you click on the plus icon, that will bring up a new blank script, and it should have in it a bit of template code which gets you started. So the top user script area, which is commented out so that the JavaScript interpreter doesn't try to run it, this tells Tampermonkey some important details about how and where this script should run. So it uses a number of directives which are denoted by this @ symbol. And if we work through these then, so the first one, the @name directive, this just names this script. So you can type in whatever you want there, and that will then of course give this script a title. The @namespace value provides a code namespace for the script, so you can set this to something personal to your script, or simply just leave the line out. The @version, @description and @author directives are for you to give some information about this script and who wrote it. So just put in some suitable text there. We'll talk more about the @match directive in a second, but for now just set it to https://***, and this will allow our script to run on any web page so that we can test it's all working okay. The @icon directive can be deleted, and we're just going to leave the @grant directive as it is. This does allow you to grant permissions to some code blocks, but we won't be using those for now. After that, you'll see a basic script template where the code you want to run is being wrapped up in a function declaration, which is then immediately executed. So all we need to do is to add our own code where it's saying in this template. So for now, we'll just add a simple printout so that we can see that our script is running. So where it says your code here, take out that line and then add a simple console output line. So console.log, then my script is running, and don't forget then of course every JavaScript line has to finish with a semicolon. And do make sure, if you haven't done much coding before, make sure you get all the punctuation and the order correct as shown on the screen. And all of this code that we're building up, I will put a full listing of this on the project page in my main Bytes and Bits website. And again, look in the description down below for a link to that. So now that we've got our first bit of script done, we need to click on the File menu and then save that. So this should now take you back to the script list, and you should see your new script listed. So you've now completed your first Tampermonkey script. To see if it works, you need to open up a new browser tab and then visit any web page. Now the console.log line that we added sends some text to the browser console. To be able to see this, you need to open up the developer tools in your browser, and usually you do this by pressing the F12 key, or by using the page inspector if you're running Safari. But once the developer tools are showing, make sure that you're looking at the console output tab. So refresh the page and you should see your message appearing at least once in the page output. So we know now that our script is running, but it's doing so on every page that we visit, and this isn't what we want. So let's start targeting the download pages in Emuparadise. So go to the emuparadise.me website and select the ROMs, ISOs and Games link in the left-hand menu. You can select any system link that you want, but there are a couple of the more modern consoles that work slightly differently. So I'm going to choose the Atari 2600. Basically, we need a system that has a single download link for each game, which, to be fair, is pretty much all of them except for the Sega Saturn. Once we get to a system page, we can then select any game for your chosen system. And these are the game pages that we need to target. So if you look at the web page address in your browser address bar, you'll see that the URL has a set format. And it's basically a number of text blocks separated by / symbols. So it starts with the domain name, so the https emuparadise.me, and then there is a game system name. That's then followed by a game name, and then the URL finishes with an ID number. So it's this URL format that we can target using the @match directive in our Tampermonkey script. So if we go back to our Tampermonkey script page, and again, make sure that you click on the edit icon if you go back to the list of scripts. And then we can edit the @match directive to specify our game pages. So the @match setting that we specify uses the format of the URL, and we use asterisks where there is some variable text. So our @match directive needs to start with the protocol and domain name, so the https://emuparadise.me. Then we have our / because that is part of the fixed format of the URL. We're then followed by a variable text string, which is going to be the system name. So in our match directive, we use an asterisk. This is then followed by another /. Then we have another text string, so we add an asterisk, and that will be the game name. Then we have our final / character, and then our final variable piece of text, which we signify with another asterisk, and that will of course be the ID number. So we end up with a match directive which looks like this, with our 3 asterisks separated by our /, which are going to match with our 3 pieces of variable text. So if we now save our script and then reload the Emuparadise game page, again making sure that we have our developer tools turned on and that we're looking at the console output, we should see that our script is now running. If we try and then visit any non-game page, we'll find that we don't get our console output coming on, so our script is now purely targeting our game download pages, and that's exactly what we want to have happening. We now need to work on deciphering the game information and building up a working download link. Now, all the information we need to build our download link is actually contained in this URL, and the most important bit then is this ID number, which is the very end of that URL. So our script needs to be able to pull this out of the page address and then insert it into a proper download link. So back in our script, we can start to break up this page URL into its component parts. So if we add these lines into our code, and the way these work then is that we first of all create a variable and we load it with the current document's URL. And then I'm just simply going to use console.log to output that so that we can see that it's actually starting to work. We then split this URL apart by breaking it up using the / symbols as the split points. And then we finally print out this array of parts of our URL. So if you save this and then run it on the game page by refreshing it, you'll see this sort of output. And if we expand the array printout, you'll see all the URL parts listed along with their indexes in the array. So URL parts 3 will give us the system name, URL parts 4 the game name, and URL parts 5 the game ID. Now the working download link for the game files simply passes the game ID value to a server-side script within the Emuparadise website. This then triggers the actual download. So the basic format of the link we need to build is as shown on the screen. This calls the getDownload server script and passes it 2 query string parameters. So GID holds the game ID value that we pull from the page URL, and test is simply another value that needs to be set to true to make the script work. So let's try and build this up in our code. So back in the Tampermonkey editor, we can add a new variable to hold this download link. So we're going to build it up by taking the first part of the URL, so the emuparadise.me roms getDownload.php and then the GID equals. We're then going to add or concatenate on our URL parts 5, and remember that was the ID value that we pulled out of our page URL. And then we simply then concatenate on a last bit of the URL with the and test equals true. And then for now, we're just going to console.log that out to the console so that we can see if we get the right link or not. So going back then to our game page, we can refresh it and we should get the link appearing in our console output. Now, if we check if the link works by simply typing it into our browser, we're going to get an error page where we get the error invalid referrer. Now, this invalid referrer error is a security measure inside the Emuparadise website. So when you visit any web page, your browser tells the new page that you go to where you've just come from, and that's called the referrer. So the Emuparadise download page will only let you download a file if you've come from the game page. And this is why we need to embed the download link into the actual game page HTML. This will then create a link on the game page that we can click, and that will then supply the correct referrer address to the download script. So to insert a new download link onto the page, we're going to need to build some HTML to actually create the link. We then need to find a suitable place within the page's HTML code, and then insert our new download link HTML. So let's start by making the HTML code. Now this is going to consist of an HTML div block with an A link tag. So the basic format's going to be as shown on the screen. The web page HTML is actually built from a number of DOM nodes, or document object model nodes. So we first need to create a DOM node for our outer div tag, and then we're going to put our link code inside it. So we can use this line of code in our JavaScript. And really that's just going to then, as we say, it's going to create an element or a node of type div. We can then add our A HTML tag inside this node. So this line of code is basically setting the inner HTML of our download div to this string. So the A href equals then the download link that we've built in our earlier bit of code, and then some text that we're going to see on the page. So we're just going to say this is the fixed link for, and then we're going to use that URL parts for value, which of course is the game title, and then finish off our A tag after that. So that gives us our div with the inner A tag H link, and we now need to get this onto the page, and we can do that by simply appending it to the main page body tag using this line of code. So if you now save this and refresh the game page, the code now should drop a new link in at the very bottom of the page. So if we scroll down, we can see that. If we click the link, it doesn't always work, and that's the same as it was for the full script from the GitHub directory. And the reason for that is the actual download is sent over an HTTP connection, where of course the link that we're looking at here is on an HTTPS connection. In other words, we're on a secure connection at the moment, and then it's being downloaded over a non-secure connection. And that flags up a signal to some of the modern browsers to tell them that something odd is happening here, and at that point they actually block that link. So the workaround for this is to right click on the link, and from the menu then we're going to save the link as, and that then is specifically telling the browser that we do want to save this download, and that will of course then make it work. So that's using Tampermonkey to actually fix the Emuparadise download link. The last thing we can do then is to position this link. So everything's working as it should be, but it would be nice to have that link added at a suitable position on the actual page code itself. So to do this, we're going to need to locate the download section node and then append our new link node to it. So if we go to the game page, in the developer tools, we can actually have a look at the HTML that makes this page up. So we need to select the element inspector. If we then move our mouse over the non-working download link, you'll see it gets highlighted. And then if we click that, that will take us then to the HTML code that's used to create that piece of the page. So we should see the original A link code, which is contained within a div block. So this div block has a class assigned to it, the download-link class. And this is something we can then use to identify this node in the page document object model. So if we use this bit of code here, so we're going to create a variable which is going to point us at this particular div element. So we select or get an element by class name, and then we tell it what class name we want to use. Now that will always return us an array of objects, so we need to select the first element in that array to give us the actual node, again because there's only one of these download link classes on the page. So we can simply append an array index onto the end of that line, so selecting element 0, which of course is the first element, and that means that our page download div variable is now selecting that individual div element. And we can now append our working download link node as a child to this node using this line of code. And if we now refresh the game page, we'll see that our working download link now sits underneath the broken download link from the original page. So the full Emuparadise link fix code has a number of other sections to fix other sorts of downloads. So if you go to the GitHub page, we can actually go through the code just very quickly. So basically it uses the system information pulled from the page URL, and that's the part number 3, to work out what sort of link we're trying to access. So Sega Dreamcast ISOs use a different download link format, and they can also have multiple links on the single game page. So that's what this code here is setting up for you. There's also a section for magazine comic guide scans, and these are handled in a much different way. So first of all, the code checks to see if the page has been cached in the webarchive.org repository, and then uses that info to rebuild the download link. If it's not been cached, then it gives you some hints on how to find the file. So all the other systems are then handled in the same way as our script at the end of this code. So I hope this has shown you how we can use the code tools, such as Tampermonkey, to manipulate and automate certain tasks in our browser. So from here, it's really up to you to apply this technique. If you search in the Tampermonkey archives, you'll find loads and loads of scripts which handle a whole range of tasks and websites. So do make sure you have a look around and have a look through the code to see how each of these ready-made ones work. They all use normal browser-based JavaScript, but you'll find that some of these will pull in external software libraries to help them produce even more complex solutions. So I hope you found this useful. If so, please do like and subscribe to my channel so that you can get all my latest and upcoming videos on gaming, coding and making as soon as I produce them. I look forward to seeing you again very soon, and bye for now. For more games programming, electronics projects and retro gaming, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel and visit my website.